And we will make this it is called Quick Bite. I know spring is busy time for everybody, so we'll get through this. And if you have any questions at the end, please feel free to ask away. So to talk about, give you an overview, why do we trial? Prior to joining A&M AgriLife, I did new products development with Heinz for 9 years, and then after that I was also with Syngenta doing technical support on both their flower side and also their BioLine products. So when we trial, we want to look at the genetics of the plant. We know that growing down here in Houston is quite challenging. We've got a lot of heat, we have a lot of humidity, and that season is quite long. So we want to turn around and be able to see, are these plants going to hold up to those conditions? And those conditions environmentally, we can have 40-degree days, and it can go up to 80 the next day and back down to 40, and so we have those challenges, and especially through the summer dealing with the heat and humidity. We don't get the cool nights, so really, if we can grow the plants here and they perform well for us, they are going to be winners. So these are the two areas that we're looking at. This is where we're located. So we're in Bear Creek Park. We are in Houston. This is our facility, so we have areas in through here where we're able to trial. We do a lot of annual trialing in through here. I'm going to talk about a Earthkind shrub demonstration that we have set up here. Back under these trees, we're in the process of putting an Earthkind azalea trial. We're almost there, not quite yet. And then we have beds along the side of these gardens where we're able to do annual trials. So we've got some space. It's tight, but we make it work. And the volunteers, the master gardeners, do an excellent job in helping us out in getting these trials in. So 2013 was my first year. We looked at caladiums. We had 36 varieties, and we evaluated these in both sun and shade. Aviditco was gracious enough to provide the bulbs for us. So you can see our full sun trial. One of the things we do is master gardeners have a big once-a-month meeting where they come in, so we try to get their feedback as much as possible. So we'll turn around and have them, they get 2 votes with the flags, and they'll go out there and put it by the plants that, or the flowers or whatever that catches their attention at that time, so we can get some feedback at that point in time. We looked at the fancy leaves and strap leaves. The fancy are the larger, more like the elephant ear look. They're recommended more for the shade, and the strap leaf, more of that heart shape, maybe a little bit shorter in overall growth habit, and they are predominantly recommended for growing in the full sun conditions. So what we did was we put them, all varieties, whether they were strap or fancy, we put them in the shade and in the sun. Interesting thing, we had a strap variety that performed much better in the shade. Mount Everest, followed by Fireworks, and this gives you an idea of what the score was for the top 10, and also the type of plant it was, whether it was strap or fancy. Mount Everest, you can see he's got that green and white with some red veination through it. Fireworks was predominantly green with a more of a watermelon color flecking, and also red veination in through that plant. Now in the full sun, it was interesting that we had a fancy leaf that performed the best. That was Carolyn Wharton, followed by White Delight, Candyland, Peppermint, and you can see that predominantly the straps were up top except for Carolyn Wharton, but then down below, Red Flash, Florida Calypso, Starburst, and Fireworks were rounded out the top 10. So these plants were a lot more adaptable to both sun and shade conditions. So if you are a landscaper, you have some other options that you can take some of these fancies or straps and use them in either sun or shade, and get the effect, and the plant's going to perform well for you. Here's Carolyn Wharton, sort of a tricolor. We'd see some white, dark veination, pink and the green, and then White Delight, predominantly white central variegation, green around the edges, and some pink coming in through the veins in the middle of the plant. Now the interesting thing is that both of them, we can see here in these images how the environment affected the plant. Now Tapestry is a fancy leaf, so it should be in the shade. This image here on the left-hand side, this is Tapestry in full sun, and here's Tapestry in the shade. So this is a great example of what the genetics looks like and how the environment affects it. These leaves on the shade side were probably 2 to 3 times larger. You can see more of the white coloration in there was more dominant versus when it was in the full sun. But both plants did well. Tapestry is a fancy leaf, so this was a really good example of how the environment affects the genetics of these plants. We've got more information on these. We'll mention a little bit later on, but we do have a blog, and so there's more data on these. But we're just sort of giving you an overview and touching base on one of these trials from 2013. The other thing we did was, in conjunction with Dr. Pemberton up at our Overton Research Center, he's the lead on the Texas Superstars program. He sent down some 18 varieties of Pentas for us to evaluate. He also sent some of the Lobularia, which I was really impressed with. They performed really well. This was the Stream series. This is from Danziger, and these bloomed all summer for us. So I would highly recommend, if you're a landscaper or a grower and you're looking for something and you like alyssum, but we know down here once the heat and humidity come, they die off on us. This Lobularia series performed really well. But to get back to the Pentas, we can see the results. We can see who the breeder was, either Pan American Syngenta or Benari. The Butterfly series, the Starla series did well, and also the Northern Lights. So really, depending on what color you're looking for, these top 10 all performed really well throughout the summer. The other good thing is, customers are looking for what draws beneficial insects, what draws butterflies, what draws the hummingbirds. Pentas fill that bill for you throughout the summer. We can see Butterfly Deep Pink, lots of flower clusters, good dark green foliage, performed well throughout the entire summer. Starla Blush, plant performed well. The blushes, especially in our conditions, will fade to more of a white. The blush, it's often a light pink, but what I've seen in over the years of trialing, blush will always, it won't hold that light pink color. It will fade on us. So, if you are a landscaper and you need a white, and maybe they're out, but they have blush, you can usually get by with a blush in the landscape, and it'll fit the bill. But these plants were very consistent, good color throughout the season. Now, in 2014, had a little bit more time to get things together. So we had annuals, we had seed varieties and vegetative varieties. We were able to put in an Earthkind Shrub Demonstration. We were also able to put in an Earthkind trial, which will lead to hopefully several peer-reviewed articles with the cooperation of MD Anderson. We're looking at roses, and we're also evaluating perennials. So on the annual side, the Zahara, Yellow Improved, and Raspberry performed extremely well. Lots of flowers. The nice thing is they do not have to be dead-headed. If you can look down inside the plant, you can see what we call they bury their dead. The old flowers are covered over. So if you are a landscaper, very minimal maintenance. Once the plant is in there, lots of flowers and performed really well in our heat and humidity. We did not see a lot of the zinnias sometimes get a bacterial or a fungal disease on them. These performed really well, and we did not see that throughout the growing season. We looked at a lot of Coleus, and these performed extremely well under our heat and humidity, our conditions. Kong Lime Sprite is an addition to the Kong series. This is a seed variety, worked well in the landscape, probably does much better if it gets some afternoon shade as opposed to the full sun. The one next to it, Color Blaze Dipped in Wine. This is from Proven Winner. Again, this one performed well in both sun and shade. So, but the color on these things just really popped throughout the summer and worked really well as a container plant. In the landscape, some of the other ones that performed well is Coleus Oras. Very vibrant, had a really good texture to the plant. As it performed, you can see it did flower, so there was some additional work that needed to be done with regard to maintenance as this plant was in the trial. The other one, Redhead, just really caught everyone's attention. Lots of good color, full sun or shade, performed really well, and very low maintenance. This plant did not flower for us the entire year, so you did not have to go through and pinch out flowers or cut anything back. So excellent color throughout the year, very vibrant, especially in the full sun when that sun would hit it. Now this is a later planting. We planted some, I would say, end of July, early August, and this is in September. So the idea, looking at these in a cluster or in a group in the landscape, we've got Vino, Electric Lime, Coleus Oras, and Redhead. You know, for fall sales, you know, mums are big, but a combination of maybe some of these Coleus in a larger planter, or just putting them out for color in the landscape, they've got those fall colors and really put on a heck of a show. So you don't always need flowers. Foliage will definitely fit the bill with some of these Coleus that are out there. The other thing we looked at was, this is from Pan American Seed, was Eggplant Patio Baby. We got some vegetables in. You know, edibles are a hot topic, a hot item. These were in 7-gallon pots, so you can see in the background here some of the other tomatoes that we looked at, but Patio Baby really did perform very well. We had drip irrigation. You can see the number of flowers that were produced. You can see the fruits that were set. So I would say these matured out at about 6 inches of length. So they're not the large type eggplant, but they produced a ton of them. So we were really impressed at how well, and this was about the height that these plants maintain throughout the season. So very manageable, which makes it easier. If you've got the limited areas, you're growing on a patio or a place like that, that you can get by doing this in a container and being successful with it. Lantanas, we trialed 33 varieties. These are varieties from Syngenta, so we looked at the Banditos, which are the smaller ones you can see in the forefront here, and then from Fall Flora Plant, we had their Little Luckies, so we have that here, and then the next size up we had Luckies, Bandanas, and then Syngenta now has the Bandana Landscape, which are the larger, more aggressive growing variety. So it gave us a good idea to see how these all performed. I would say in general, really depends on what color you're looking for. They all performed really well down here in these conditions. Flower production was great. I would probably say that the Bandanas and the Banditos were probably more uniform in their growth habit. The Luckies would tend to be a little bit more aggressive, and from color to color, we didn't see as much of the uniformity. But overall, they all performed exceptionally well. And in fact, we let them overwinter, and some of them are starting to come back now. Some of the highlights on these, Bandito Orange. Great thing about a lot of these Lantanas now is you're seeing multiple colors. They're going to open one color, and then as they mature, you're going to see that orange color. So the younger flowers are yellow. As they mature, you'll see various shades, and then they'll mature out to orange. The Lucky series, we have Rose Sunshine, Lavender, and Pot of Gold. Again, you can see somewhat the habits a little bit different on these, maybe a little bit larger, a little bit more aggressive. The nice thing is, you know, from a landscape perspective, you can probably get by with fewer of these per square footage because you're going to get the coverage that you need. So that's something to take into account when you're working with these Lantanas. Bandana Pink, again, nice yellow, young flowers, and then as they mature, they sort of get that fuchsia pinkish type color to it. So you're seeing lots of colors in it, and throughout the entire summer, lots of butterflies. We would put yellow sticky cards out to see what beneficials. We had syrphid flies, things like that. So lots of good beneficials that we're also able to bring into the garden as they're there. Bandana Rose, again, very good color, nice habit, very consistent throughout the line. So that gives you an idea of what we did with regard to annuals in 13 and 14. With the help of Dr. Steve George, we started some Earthkind trials down here, and this is really a sustainable approach to landscaping with minimal inputs or no inputs actually with regard to fertilizer or pesticides, and then minimal water or irrigation. So in most Earthkind landscapes, you can turn around, you can see a decrease in irrigation anywhere from 50 to 70%. So what we did was here at the office, we put a shrub demonstration in. So you can see we have 30 different shrubs. This is not replicated, so this is just one of each. The bed was amended with compost, 3 inches. It was tilled in. We used drip irrigation. These plants are all on a 5-foot center. And then we come in with 3 inches of mulch over top of that. And this is right out of the truck from a tree service. It is not composted. It is fresh mulch, and we just set that out over top. So this is the layout of the trial. And that was back in March of last year. This is an image in, I would say, September of 2014. So you can see we've got Tacoma, Hamelia. There's hydrangeas along the backside. There's buddleias, and then we have loropetalums there also. Some highlights are plants that were jumping out at us. This is a new Hamelia from Greenleaf Nursery. It's called Lime Sizzler. It's got a green central variegation, and then it puts out these bright orange flowers, great contrast. The habit on it that first year was great. So the first year, last year, they received irrigation on a regular basis until they get established. What we will do this year now is we will only irrigate as needed. So we've had a pretty wet spring. They've received no irrigation. And we will base irrigation going forward on how much rainfall we get. So we will take monthly data on these, whether they're producing flowers, how well they overwintered, things like that. And this will give us some good information, maybe potentially as to how we can bring these into the Earthkind program and do a replicated trial and move forward from there. But Lime Sizzler definitely caught a lot of attention from folks that would come through the gardens. Here's another one. This is from Ball Ornamentals, Flutterby Petite, Tutti Frutti Pink. Great habit, very tight and compact. The other great thing about this variety or this series of these Flutterbys is I believe they are male sterile. They set very low seed set. I believe it's less than 2%. So in certain areas of the country, some of the buddleias have become invasive. So we were able to get a hold of some of these. There's a couple other varieties in there, but this is one that we really thought this habit was really unique, and it did perform well, produced a lot of flowers throughout the season. Now, the other thing that we did with regard to Earthkind is we put in what we're calling a modern rose trial. We looked at 20 rose varieties, and I would say about half of these are hybrid teas. And anybody that's down here in the South knows that hybrid teas are usually black spot magnet. They don't perform very well, and so if you if you're a transplant like I am from either the Northeast or the Midwest or someplace like that, you just accept the fact that you can't grow hybrid teas down here. But with regard to finding out, working with Kordes Roses, a German breeder, Um, these are some of the varieties that we have in there. So you can see the hybrid tea varieties. And Kordes, their program, I guess about 30 years ago, they went away from spraying any of their seedlings as they come through the process. They do have a track record of providing varieties that are disease resistant. So we are working with them in evaluating these hybrid teas, along with some Floribunda roses that are their varieties also. So you can turn around and see the color range and some of the habits. In this trial, it is really a true collaboration, and this is what Extension is all about. We've got AgriLife Extension as the lead. We're working with MD Anderson, and if you're aware of the size of the campus for the medical center, MD Anderson has a large footprint down there in Houston, so it is an urban area. They provided the land for us because they are committed. They are already practicing a lot of these using these tools with regard to Earthkind in their landscapes already around the various buildings. We've got help from the Master Gardeners and also the Houston Rose Society. So it's been great leading this and working with these folks in order to make this happen. And this is the area. So if you are in the Houston area, you can see this is Old Spanish Trail, Fannin Street. There used to be a building here. The soil was really, it's that typical gumbo, probably even worse on steroids. So it was really poor soil. The rose trial is in this area here. The perennials are in this area there, and they're actually using this area as a sort of a prairie garden. So they've got it overseeded with various wildflowers and prairie flowers. So it's a unique area, but it's been great working with these folks. And this is what the trial looks like now. This is where we are. So these beds are 126 feet long. They're 10 feet wide. The roses are on 5-foot centers. We put down 3 inches of compost that was tilled in. There is drip irrigation to each plant. And then we've got 4 replications. We've got a positive control, a plant that we know is Earthkind friendly. We have one that we know is a black spot magnet. So we'll know that if black spot's in the area, it should end up on that plant. So what we did was last year they were planted, they were watered as needed. This year we took first round of data in March, and we will continue to take data monthly through October on these plants, and they will only be irrigated as needed. So in past trials up in the Dallas area, there have been times when they've only had to put water on them once during the growing season because of this mulching, because of the improvements to the soil. And they will not be sprayed, and they have not been fertilized. So we will see if we come away in another 2 to 3 years with any potential winners that we can put that Earthkind label on. We're also looking at some perennials in this trial. So we've got 16 species, 3 replications, a total of 48 plants. And here's the beds here. You can see the drip irrigation. We did have some challenges with the irrigation. We actually are going to go ahead and replant this because we lost quite a few due to the irrigation, but in fact that will probably be going in within the next 2 weeks. But we're excited about this because this will give us some good information to expand that portfolio of plants that we can turn around and label as Earthkind, and ultimately help the end consumer be successful in putting these plants into their landscape. And again, without the volunteers, these are the folks from the Master Gardeners, from the Houston Rose Society that are really helping to make this program and these trials happen. All right, so what do we have on tap for 2015? We are going to look at, I mentioned earlier on, we're looking at reblooming azaleas here at the Bear Creek offices, and this is going to be an Earthkind trial. Buddy Lee donated 8 varieties of Encore. Greenleaf Nursery was gracious enough to send over 2 varieties, so we've got 10 varieties that we will be looking at, and this should be in within the next 3 to 4 weeks in and going on. So we're excited to see that. We've got a great spot here at the office, so again, another reason if you're in the area to come by and see what we've got going on here. The Modern Roast trial that we talked about, that's now down at MD Anderson, a lot of those varieties are grafted. They came from their production fields in California, and I know from the industry side is nurserymen want to be able to be licensed to grow these, and they want to do them on own root. So we do have those plants on own root, and we will be putting in a similar trial as the one down at MD Anderson with own root varieties. So we will be able to show grafted own root, and the next thing, these trials will be replicated up in Green Bay, up at the Botanical Garden there. So we'll be able to look and see how these plants are doing in our Zone 9, along with a Zone 4 trial. They'll be going in this spring once they thaw out up there. So it's really pretty exciting what we're doing with the Earthkind with regard to not just the roses, but the azaleas and everything else we've got going on. So we keep pushing forward and trying to get the information and work with the folks in order to see how well these plants are going to perform. On an annual side for this year, we're working with Pan Am, Benari, and Cicada. You can see we've got 21 seed varieties, 20 varieties of seeds from Benari. Cicada sent over 27. We've got vegetative annuals. We've got the Sun Patience, that's the compact series, along with Portulaca, so a total of 84 varieties. And I sort of see my role in what I'm doing is sort of bridging that gap between the seed companies and also the growers, the landscapers, and the homeowners. Not everyone can make it out to California spring trials, which will be starting up next week. So we want to turn around, or I want to turn around and be able to bring some of those varieties here and show them off to the public and to the industry, and give them an idea of how well they're going to perform, so they can turn around and make adjustments to their mix or to what they have to offer in order to sort of be out in front and letting people know what's good and really what isn't. Contributors, again, we can't do it without the contributors, so here's a list with regard to genetics, folks that have supplied genetics to us, and Nature's Way with regard to compost and mulch and living earth and Rainbird with the irrigation system. So you wear a lot of hats when you're in extension working with throughout the industry, and these people have been done an excellent job in helping us out and in making things happen here. The other thing I want to let you folks know about is we started this the end of January. This is a bi-weekly e-newsletter that we have coming out, or that comes out. And it's a quick, there's 3 stories in it. Usually there's something in here that we talked about. Here's a trial that we just completed, tulips for Harris County. So if you were to click on that, it would take you to our blog and it'd give you an update on the trial that we just completed on 5 varieties of tulips. And then there's some other information in there. So if you are interested in getting on this mailing list, please let me know. My email address will be at the end also. Send me an email. I can put you on the list if you don't receive it, because we want to be able to continue outreach and get the information to you folks that are in the industry, so you can turn around and be successful with your businesses. And Mung Mung, I think that wraps it up for me on this end. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it.
Thank you, Paul.